There's so much about the universe that we don't know, but we discovered the Pleiadians on a starship helping humanity right now raise the vibration for the Great Awakening.
We went on a journey of self-discovery, of healing, of connection, and we chose to be of service. We work with people all over the world, helping them to raise their vibration, clear their emotional traumas, their self-limiting beliefs, and this has a ripple effect, contributing to the shift in consciousness on this planet and helping people to ascend and move towards higher levels of consciousness in their day-to-day life.
We're Pete and Roxy, and we're about to take you on a journey into the stars, into the galactic, to meet the Pleiadians and a whole lot more. A light worker is someone that feels like they've always been the black sheep of the family, or they feel like they're adopted, or like they're not belonging here on this planet. And we come to a point where we have an awakening to all of this information and energy of the universe, realizing that we're a soul having a human experience. And then we identify ourselves as a light worker or a star seed or a way shower. That's an old wise soul that's been traveling all around the universe and is here on this planet at this time for the Great Awakening.
And one of the big principles in awakening is learning how to get out of your head and into your heart.
We take a client to a Galactic Federation starship and connect with Pleiadian beings. They're extraterrestrial beings from the Pleiades, and they're helping us heal a client. So we connect in with the client's heart and take their light body to the starship, and we can see into their energetic field on the multi-dimensional level, where we can see where they have blocks or emotional trauma from their lifetime. And in particular, their soul sometimes has a split. And this happens after a significant event that happens in their life. A trauma that might happen, an impression from their family members or their mum or their dad. This negative energy within their body and their being can go on to have an effect of a negative nature for the rest of their life.
How'd you go?
Yeah, good. She's her name was Julie from California. She's definitely a light worker, but she's stuck in her head. She's in the left logical side of the brain. And the poor thing, she's like trying to control everything in her life. So it took her up to the ship, and the Pleiadians were like pulling out all the subconscious programming from her childhood. At 7, she remembered being a little girl and feeling scared when her father came home. And all of that emotion is suppressed within her. So the Pleiadians were helping her to release that. And she met the emotion, she had a big cry, and yeah, the poor thing, she's grown up trying to please everyone to try and fit in. So she's like constantly overcompensating to fit in, to be liked, to feel special.
Classic light worker.
Yeah, yeah.
When you're tuning into a client and when you're taking their consciousness to the ship, it's along the lines of principles that have been spoken about for many, many years. Remote viewing, telepathy, tuning into a person at a distance. So what we're doing with that though is tapping into galactic consciousness. What we've been shown is that we can use that interconnectedness and connect to higher vibrational consciousness to help people to emotionally balance. So the Pleiadians and the guidance of the med beds is a vehicle, a trigger, a method to be able to achieve this. So they can notice big changes can happen quickly when they've got that mind and that connection in the right state. What I see through talking to a lot of people is often they don't even realize that there's any sort of split there. They just know the feeling. You know, they just feel like they're incomplete, or they've been damaged in some way, or in my case, some sort of event has happened, and after that event, you just don't think you're ever going to be the same. And you know, for myself, when I was doing the inner healing work, and when I really sort of wanted to go in there and heal my heart, merge back with my soul, I got taken by the Pleiadians to 5, to me curled up on my bed in the fetal position, and I was listening to the sound of my mum in the nearby bathroom crying on the floor, almost like making this horrible yuck, throwing up type sound into the toilet over the grief of what had just happened in the household.
It had been raining heavily overnight, and we lived only probably a 5-minute walk up the road, and we went down. Dad had a water pump and he used to pump from the creek. So I just went down to check the water pump, because Dad used to check the water pump just to see if it was underwater, and it wasn't. But I walked back up to the road, and instead of going back to the house quickly, I took off down to this little bridge to see if this was flooded. And very much like this, it wasn't flooded, but the water was high on that high side like that. And it was raging out of that bottom pipe like a torrent. And this was all white rapids, you know, really strong. And we were playing around very much like the boys are now, just on the top here around the water. And I knew it was time to go, because we weren't supposed to go down to the creek. And I was up halfway up the hill there, calling her to come, telling her to hurry up. And she wasn't coming. And eventually I remember the last glimpse is when I said to her, if you don't come now, I'm going to go without you. But I saw her like she was in a red top, she had a nappy on, overbalance, fall in, and then just disappear. And then the panic and the brutal truth of going to that memory was I didn't run home as fast as I could. I was guilty, so I walked home slow, and I was ashamed of myself, and didn't even want to tell Mum. And then of course I tell her, and she loses it. You know, the whole house erupts into cries and bellows, and there was a younger brother who was in a high chair. He was crying. She's run off down the road in a dressing gown, screaming. It's like the reality of a soul split is as brutal. What goes on? No wonder people don't want to go there.
A memory where there is a lot of intense emotion around it, where someone says, I just don't want to go there. I don't like to think about that anymore. Probably the reason that is, like I had, is I'd blocked a lot of it out. I'd had memories come back to me as I healed that I had blocked out, and I didn't even realize it. The whole experience was one that I just did not want to address.
One of the things that comes through, there was the law of one was written, and the channelings by Ra, the collective consciousness of the planet Venus, which is helping planet Earth, talks about how for your soul to ascend, for you to graduate through this lifetime, you've got to know thyself, love thyself, but then ultimately you see the infinite creator in everything. And I think this process of know thyself is every dark corner. It's like we know the light, but it wants you to know you're dark, because that's where the lessons are. We don't get much spiritual growth sitting on a sun lounge by the pool listening to music. It's like times when life is tough, when there is loss and there's powerful emotion. That's a catalyst for our soul to grow and for us to evolve and develop.
The benefit is the freedom, the release. It's like this weight gets lifted off your shoulders. It's like a hole inside of you gets plugged that can't get plugged up with drugs or alcohol or money or overachieving or whatever it might be that people use to distract themselves from focusing on the unhealed parts.
So that's fifth dimensional wisdom being applied to 3D life, the 3D realm. And all of a sudden you see it and you go, wow, all those people that have hurt me, the whole bit got showed to me. And I've worked through all that to realize that it was a lesson to get me to this point of who I am now. And where Roxy and I are on our journey of helping other people with this sort of experience, helping them on their journey so that hopefully their soul can ascend, so they can move through those lessons that are coming their way in life.
We're a four-part being, a spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. And if we look at our four-part being as an aeroplane, like a jet aeroplane, to get off the ground, we've got to have those four engines working and operating well.
And those four engines need to operate in balance and in harmony for us to reach ascension, for us to get off the ground and to soar into really who we are.
And a lot of people, half their engines aren't working, so they're walking around unhealed, unsatisfied, and really low vitality.
And of course, when we're numb physically and emotionally and mentally, that affects our spiritual connection. So no wonder a person can't meditate, they can't stop the constant thinking, or they're physically in pain, or emotionally they're shut down. So of course it's difficult to be still and know that I am God. It's difficult to go within and connect to themselves, or perhaps something higher vibrational outside themselves, because those three engines aren't in balance.
So we can use different modalities to raise our vibration and heal ourselves. So things like breath work, meditation, energy healing, an ice bath, exercise is another great one to get the breath moving through the system to energize the system and activate the lower energy centers.
As we went on our journey and we were being guided by these Pleiadians in the sessions to go, you guys, you've got to look at your emotional stuff. You've got to look at your false beliefs. You've got to change what you eat, you know? And we were always eating quite well and we were always active, but we were guided to take it up a level.
When we set an intention, when we're using these modalities, we have great elevation. We start to heal the lower three energy centers where the suppressed emotion and the trauma and locked energy is stuck.
The ice bath is an amazing vehicle to be able to get the internal organs flushed with blood.
About 2 degrees. I hoped it would be a bit warmer than that.
Very often a person's not active enough, or we're not activating our lymphatic system, which is tied right in with the breath. So by having an ice bath and going into that state where mentally you've got to be at your best, and then of course physically you need to be able to control the breath, but the blood rushes to the internal organs, and at the end of it, energetically, you feel sharp. You're more alert, you're more awake.
When our mental aspect is in alignment, we can really start to become present in nature as well. Going out and grounding in Pachamama, she will hold us and nurture us, and it elevates our frequency when we're doing this grounding work, when we're acknowledging nature, when we're taking a swim in the beautiful ocean or the creeks or the waterways. We're embodying this human experience in a physical aspect, but the mental aspect of our mind can bring us into the present moment, which is bringing us into alignment. It's raising our vibration, and we feel really good when we do this.
It's a bit like that saying in our family, you never regret a swim. It's like sometimes you can be stressed out or there's something on your mind, and if you go for that swim, I don't know, there's something about the frequency of the planet, and it just has this ability to be able to suck the stress out of you, give you a reset, and you just feel energized and reset and refreshed. And that's the same feeling you can get by like truly tuning into nature. Like some people are mindlessly in nature, but if you're tuning into nature and you set that intention to really ground, you could get so much clarity, so much renewal just by getting out there and really tuning into this beautiful planet that we live in. And then of course, physically we're strong, emotionally we're more open and connected, mentally we are more aware of our thoughts, and as you influence those three engines, that spiritual aspect of your being starts to shine. It's like for the first time in your life, you really feel like
you can connect. You feel like you're having a spiritual experience because the 4 aspects of your being, the 4 jet engines, are starting to help you lift off the ground. You feel lighter, and this is ascension. You're feeling lighter. You're moving towards becoming a being of light. This is Christ consciousness. This is the golden age that we are being ushered into, and it's why the old souls are on the earth at this time.
So many people are walking around lost, unfulfilled, feeling like they're stuck in life. And I know how that feels because I've felt like that before. And it's not until I did the healing that I realized what I was in and what I could move out of and just start to enjoy again. When the Pleiadians started to connect with us, they told us about the medbed healing and that it wasn't an instant fix modality. The medbeds were a vehicle to heal and elevate a person's vibration in the physical body. So this is not about giving your power away. This is all about using our free will or your free will to connect to the Pleiadian starship and to explore and grow as a soul in this human experience.
So sometimes people are looking for a savior. They're looking for something outside themselves to make all their problems go away. Some sort of following, some sort of guru, some sort of magical thing that's going to make their life better. But what has been really shown to us powerfully is that our greatest gift is our free will. This ability for us to be able to forgive ourselves, relieve ourselves of our traumas, of our pain, and grow from it and evolve as a soul is a key point for ascension.
And so when we have an activation, our soul has this awakening to this higher consciousness. We realize we don't belong here. We might have felt like the black sheep of the family our whole life, or maybe that we're adopted. We start to get activated in the lower 3 energy centers and our traumas are released. So think about like a volcano. The volcano doesn't erupt until something triggers it. And when it gets triggered, the heat of the bottom layers are going to come up through the system and start to release. And we start to acknowledge and feel our locked emotions that have been suppressed for many, many years. And so as the energy comes up through the system, comes through the heart for us to feel, it comes through the throat chakra for us to talk about, our mind to process, and then finally leaves out the top. And sometimes we'll have some tremors that might come after, like the aftershock. But the heat at the bottom of the volcano, the bottom of your energy centers are coming up to be released so you can feel free and heal yourself.
And as we go within and address these things, no one wants to talk about them. People often play along like everything's okay, nothing to see here. But buried in the dungeon is the disconnected, the unloved little boy or girl, and that's crying to be healed, crying to be heard, crying to come out. And it manifests itself in our day-to-day life. And in my case, from the guilt and the shame that I felt through the death of my sister, it manifested itself in my behavior. I was painfully shy at school, and it manifested in emotions. I had massive emotions of pleasing people. I'd run around trying to make everyone else happy because deep inside myself, I felt the guilt, the shame. I didn't feel good enough. So that emotion was so strong, carrying itself through, even to the point where early choices I made in my life I knew weren't right for me, but I was trying to keep the facade of the family. You're a good boy, the eldest of the boys, you've got to do the right thing. Oh, if you make that choice, what will the grandparents think? What will the aunties or uncles think? So instead of doing what I wanted, I would play the facade of making everyone else happy. The parents, the grandparents, the aunts, the uncles, and totally disconnected from myself and who I really was. And when I healed, when I really went through this awakening journey with intention, I connected back to that lost little boy at 5, and all of a sudden, the guilt, the shame, that responsibility that I'd carried through my life, manifesting itself in back pain, in neck pain, manifesting itself in issues with women that all came out in my physical body through the broken left foot, the broken left arm that I've had, problems all the way up the left side of my body, me getting pointed to look at divine feminine in your life, all linking back to my relationship with my little sister and the event that happened in and around that. But at the time, being lost, I didn't see any of that. And as soon as I addressed it, as soon as I went back to that little 5-year-old boy and released all of those underlying root causes, everything in my physical body shifted and changed. The mental aspect of my being shifted completely. My relationship with myself changed, but my ability to connect, my ability to be able to feel peace within shifted dramatically, all through this process of healing that has been divinely shown, and Roxy and I have been guided through the help of this higher vibrational energy. So with the help of this galactic guidance, we can heal ourselves, use the power of our free will to release that trapped energy, to free ourselves of those bonds that are like holes in the bucket of our happiness, draining out our life energy. Once they get addressed and we plug them up, the person starts to shine again. They have that enthusiasm, that spark. The inner child, that little boy or girl, starts to come out, and people see it in the person's day-to-day life. They are happier, they are more fulfilled, they're nicer to be around because the person is healed. The shift in consciousness from 3D to 4D to 5D is going on the planet right now. And each and every one of us have a role to play.
Right now on the planet, we're separate. And if we all came together and looked at ourselves and helped each other unite as one, there'd be a lot more peace on the planet. We'd be able to, consciously live and bring up our children learning these techniques and this wisdom so they can have togetherness and love and joy as well as a human collective.
This is the time of the Great Awakening. And what the Great Awakening is the shift in consciousness. People are starting to wake up, to become more aware. And it's time for every single one of us to realize that we are here for a purpose. We are not just here having some sort of human experience that means nothing. We are contributing to this shift and change in consciousness, and we are here for the mission.
And it has an impact on the planet. Our vibration and how we treat each other is a mirror of Pachamama. She feels our fighting. She feels our projection, our judgment, our separation. So she wants us to be together to help each other, to become one. The Pleiadians are here to help us and guide us. They're here because it has an energetic pull on their planet system. There's all different planets in the universe. We're still learning and growing and raising our frequency to explore that wisdom. But they're here because our planet has dropped into 3D density. It's a low frequency, and it's having an energetic pull on the rest of this universe. And so when they come here and they help us drop our density and raise our vibration as one, it has an impact. It's like an ecosystem in the universe where we can all energetically spread the energy and we all work as one in harmony once again.
So it's pretty unique to go through a spiritual awakening and still be together. Very often when one person wants to shift and change, the other person thinks, what the heck's going wrong with them? Or I've lost them, or oh no, what's this going to mean? And certainly in our relationship, it hasn't always been rainbows and sunshine. We have had some tough times during this awakening journey.
When I had my awakening and the trigger came to me, it was actually Pete that triggered me, and he did nothing wrong, but I moved out the very next day, took the kids, packed up my bags and moved out. On the plane home, I was meditating and the Pleiadians started communicating with me. And I was like, oh my God, are aliens even real? And they looked humanoid in my visions, in my meditation state.
And weird things were happening with their electronics and things were shutting off and freezing and malfunctioning. And she was starting to notice almost nightly connections to these beings. And she's saying, I feel like they're wanting to connect with me. I wonder what this means.